How to sell more homes using social media content. Whether you're a brand new agent or a veteran, you know or need to know putting yourself out there and marketing yourself and advertising is the #1 thing you need to do to succeed. If you are not lead generating, you are on the path to failure. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can lead generate, but if you're not interested in cold calling FSBOs and expireds, if you have a small social circle, if you don't want to host open houses, or if you don't want to host events, you're gonna need to make social media content. Now, not only is this one of the best ways to generate business for real estate agents, but you can generate these leads for free without ever paying for advertising. And if you do it right, you're also gonna generate income from the channels themselves. So here's what we're gonna talk about today: the platforms that you should be on, the tools that you need, the types of content you should make, the frequency you should post, how to get good talking on camera, and the biggest mistakes I see realtors make. Let's talk about the platform, and you need to be intentional with which platform you focus on. You don't want to randomly post on 4 different platforms and 4 different frequencies. Now, if you can only choose one, it is absolutely YouTube. YouTube is the #1 social media platform, not only for real estate agents, but for any small business owner. The biggest reason being searchability. If you talk about an interesting topic and you do the correct SEO, when people search that term, your video is going to pop up. This really isn't the case for any other of the platforms. You're not going to find great results from a long-term keyword in Instagram or even TikTok. And by far the #1 platform for people to continuously find you from old content is going to be YouTube. Here's how I like to think about the major platforms and which audience it's going to be focused on. YouTube is how strangers find you through keyword search terms. Facebook is how you stay top of mind for your friends and family that you already know. And this is typically going to be the older demographic of people in your sphere. Instagram is how you stay top of mind for people in your sphere, and also some potential to market to strangers, and your demographic is going to be slightly younger than Facebook. And TikTok is probably the best way to target a local audience. So in particular, if you're looking for listings, I have found TikTok to be the most effective because people are constantly searching content related to their neighborhood. And if you prove yourself to be a neighborhood expert, you're very likely to get a call to list people's homes in those areas you're talking about. Now, you can definitely take one piece of content and repurpose it for all these platforms, but that really should be the exception, not the rule, because as we'll talk about, each platform requires a slightly different type of storytelling that you do need to cater to. So you can take one content idea and chop it up in different ways, different lengths, and different storytelling methods for each of the platforms without having to shoot it multiple times. Now, the ones that I focus on most are YouTube and TikTok because these are how strangers find me. And the content on Facebook and Instagram is much easier and simpler to do. Because these people usually already know, like, and trust me, I'm simply posting content that simply keeps me top of mind as a real estate agent in their awareness. So to keep this simple for you, I would recommend simply posting on Facebook and Instagram normal life stuff with occasional real estate related stuff thrown in to stay top of mind. And I would focus your creative energy on YouTube, and then if you have the bandwidth, on TikTok. But again, by far, YouTube is the most important platform for generating business through social media, and I recommend you post at least once a week for 8 months before you can expect to see results. All right, let's talk about tools, and this is where a lot of people get hung up, asking me questions about should I buy this tool or this tool, which is the best, listen, the best way to make sure you do this consistently over a long period of time is to keep it simple and easy. Your phone will almost definitely work for all the content you make. I do have a nicer camera, but I use my iPhone for about 98% of the content that I make. So you don't need to go buy a fancy camera. All you need to get started really is your phone and a gimbal. A gimbal is a device that holds your phone and turns it into a Steadicam. You can get these for as cheap as $60. You can spend more if you want. Just buy any gimbal that's compatible with your phone. If it stabilizes your camera, it works. You don't need to spend hours researching this. And then the third piece of equipment I really do think you need right from the start is a lav mic. The audio quality is extremely important, and an easy way to differentiate yourself from other creators. You can buy a simple lav mic that plugs into your iPhone for around $20 on Amazon, and the quality of your audio will increase greatly. Now, once you've got these three essentials, the next things that you can look at would be a green screen, which is what I'm talking in front of right now. This will, allow you to turn your office into a studio and give it a more professional look. It'll just make shooting content really easy because you don't need a complicated light setup. You can just have a ring light, which is another piece of equipment that I would recommend. So, your next pieces could be the green screen and the ring light, which holds your camera. And lastly, this isn't really necessary, but they're not that expensive and it can really benefit your business in multiple ways, would be a drone. You can get a DJI drone for a couple $100s. And not only is this gonna help you create high quality content for your social, but if you have a listing, you can now offer drone photography. This is gonna benefit you in a number of ways. Now, in terms of editing, again, use whatever free resource you have. If you have a Mac, you can use iMovie. If you have a PC, use whatever native editing software they have. However, my recommendation is if you're gonna go all in, immediately hire an editor. If you're really gonna do this thing and you're gonna go all in with social media, it makes way more sense to hire a professional to do a better job than you could and save yourself the time of trying to figure it out yourself. Now, my biggest secret / hack for an editor, and if you get nothing else from this video, this is a piece of golden advice for you, would be onlinejobs.ph. This is a platform where you can hire a Filipino video editor to work for you from anywhere to $3 to $7 an hour, depending on their experience. So you can have a full-time editor if you're doing one video a week for very cheap. Even if you're just getting it started in real estate, I think this is an investment that you can make and will be worth it. Your video quality is gonna go through the roof and you're gonna save all of that time trying to do it yourself. So I would strongly consider finding a freelance video editor in another country immediately. I'll make another video about how to do this in detail, but you can just get started by checking out onlinejobs.ph. So platforms, tools, let's talk about types of content. This is by far the biggest mistake I see realtors trying to do social media content make. So let's talk about what people don't care about, okay? People do not care about being a real estate agent. And you may not realize this, but you're probably making content about what it's like to be a real estate agent. If you're talking about the escrow process, the inspection process, if you're talking about lenders, if you're talking about anything related to the buying or selling process, you're making real estate agent content. Now, unless you're trying to market to real estate agents, this makes no sense. You are the real estate agent. So why do I care about you doing your job? You're supposed to take care of the escrow process and the inspection process and making sure the transaction gets to closing. I do not need to become an expert on the real estate sales transaction process. And it's boring and I don't care. And this is why your content about this stuff gains no traction or attention. So stop making content for real estate agents. Now, what do people care about? People care about neighborhoods. They want to know what it's going to be like to live in your neighborhood. If this is like the biggest real estate hack ever, and it's not talked about enough, but just the simple concept of focusing on being a neighborhood expert, especially for people relocating to your area, they need to understand what it's like to live here to make sure it's going to be good for them and their family. So people want neighborhood related content, whether it's things to do, restaurants, talking about the schools, talking about the price points and the architecture, whatever it is you can think that would impact someone's lifestyle is relevant for neighborhood related content. People like to see and talk about homes. You've got HGTV, right? What's on your TV 24/7? Home tours in some capacity, right? As a realtor, you've got access to every vacant home on the market. Now you need to get permission from the listing agent to shoot anything and post it, of course. However, this is a fantastic opportunity for you. If you did nothing else but get your phone and gimbal and go into vacant listings and do a guided tour, you barely even have to edit it. If you want to get fancy, you can do a voiceover with your lav mic about what you thought about the home. But I've seen people just put on music and do tours and get massive followings from this, and you probably follow them on YouTube as well. So, neighborhoods and homes. Simple. This is the kind of content that you should be making. Now, if you want to sprinkle in a video about what the real estate market is doing, that's fine. But you need to be making content about what people are interested in. And I know that's only 2 topics, but you can chop that up into a million ways. You can do, if you're looking at the home, you can do budget videos. What can I buy between $300,000 to $500,000 in a certain period of time? You can do vlog tours where you highlight a certain neighborhood and talk about everything related to living in that area. You can go live from homes. You could do live open houses. You could, once a week, you could plan to go live in your YouTube audience from a home that's on the market and do a tour and walk around and explain it to them. You can do interviews with local leaders or politicians or business owners. If you look at my talk, I throw in food reviews because that's something I'm passionate about. Now, that's not the main thrust of my channel because I do want to anchor it to real estate, but you definitely want to utilize your interests and hobbies. This is something else that people are interested in. They're interested in a human connection and a human story. So if you're a single mom or you're an immigrant or anything unique about you, whether, whatever country that you came from or language that you speak or life situation that you have, don't discount that. And I would encourage you to find natural ways to integrate your story into the content that you make, whatever feels true and natural to you. You don't want to pander and make content specifically, to get clicks that's not true to you, but don't undervalue your unique life story and how people may relate to that. There's probably people out there watching that have a similar story and are gonna feel very comfortable using you as their realtor as they get to know you. So stop making real estate agent content. Make content about neighborhoods and homes and your personal life. Whatever your hobbies are, whatever your interests are, eventually bring people into that world. They're gonna be more invested in you and they're going to relate to you better. All right, let's talk about frequency. How often should you be posting? Again, this is going to vary on the platform, but the main takeaway here is really consistency. This is a longer process. This is not going to buy leads on Zillow and then immediately your phone rings and you're trying to convert them. You are trying to build up an organic audience that's going to generate free, high quality leads for you. And this does take time. So if you don't think you can post one YouTube video a week for 8 months, don't even try. And don't even have expectations for getting results prior to then. Now, if you can do that, I would bet, I'm telling you, and I would not lie to you, you're gonna build a whole foundation for your business if you can just run the marathon. I talk about real estate is a marathon, not a sprint. The thing that differentiates successful realtors from those that quit more than anything else is just consistent action over a long period of time. People have a very difficult time taking action without seeing results. If you can take action without seeing results, delayed gratification, you definitely will be successful. So YouTube, 1 video a week. You can do that. You really can. And you can be doing a million other lead generation techniques while you just do your 1 video a week. I really can't think of a reason or a realtor who's so successful that they should not be posting 1 video on YouTube a week. There's just no reason not to create a big audience for free that you can hold captive and get listings and buyers from. You can generate email lists from your audience and market to them in 100 different ways. Now, for the short form platforms, typically the more the better. If we're talking about Instagram and Facebook, again, I really look at these for people who are in my sphere of influence. So 1 simple post a day, 1 post every other day, to me is more than sufficient. As long as I'm staying top of mind as a real estate professional to these people, I'm likely to get calls from them when a need pops up. For TikTok, once a day is definitely ideal. And if you can do more than that, probably even better. However, keep in mind with all of this, quality is always king. So if you had to choose between a lot of low quality, low effort content posted frequently versus high quality content that you put a lot of thought into, that's engaging and interesting, that's less frequent, I would go with the latter. You want to think about what people are interested in and create a great piece of content for that. So the way that I look at this is this: I will do 1 long form video a week for YouTube, and I will do 1 short vertical piece of content a day that will go out to TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And I will have my editor edit these in different ways to create some differentiation for the different platforms, but I'm still only filming one piece of content. All right, so let's talk about how to get comfortable talking on camera. This is one of the biggest excuses I get very often from older folks who are just feeling shy or they're not used to the social media world. How can you feel comfortable talking in front of the camera like I am right now without fumbling your words or saying something that you didn't mean? Well, first of all, it takes practice. You're not going to be good at anything the first time that you do it, so you need to be determined to practice and learn from your mistakes, and you absolutely will get better over time. I would say the number one way to get comfortable is just to talk in front of your phone without any agenda or audience. You can pull out your phone right now in the video function and hit record, and tell me about your neighborhood. Y'all live in a neighborhood, whether you rent or buy. I'm assuming you're somewhat familiar with that neighborhood. And if you and I were having a conversation about that neighborhood, I don't think you would stumble over your words. If I asked you, hey, what's it like to live here? Think about it like this. Tell me your 5 favorite things about living in your neighborhood. I don't think if you and I were having a conversation, you would stumble over your words or say anything stupid. You would probably be very informative and interesting about your neighborhood. So do this at home alone by yourself in front of your phone camera. Pull it up, start to hit record so it feels a little bit real, and tell the camera what your 5 favorite things are about living in your neighborhood. Now, the great thing about this is you don't ever have to stop hitting record. You don't have to, do a redo. Just keep going. If you mess up, if you say something stupid, keep talking. Keep doing it again and again. Have a natural conversation with yourself because no one is watching. And so this takes away all the weirdness. I think the biggest issue here is really getting in your head. Because if you're trying to talk about a certain subject, but your mind is off thinking about how you're talking about it or what you're saying, you're gonna get distracted and you're gonna fumble your words. So practice talking into your phone by yourself, record it, watch yourself back. But this is a great way just to flex that muscle. Now, the next tip is just to script out what you're going to say. You have to think deeply about what you want to say before you're going to say it. Without a doubt, whenever I flub my words, whenever I start to just kind of lose track or start to talk about something that's not really making sense or sounding good, it's because I'm talking about something I don't know really well, right? And so the more comfortable you are about a topic, the less likely you are to fumble your words or get something wrong. So if you're doing the pros and cons of living in your city, you gotta sit down and script it out a little bit with bullet points. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about this reason. What do I want to say about this? And then bullet points are your friends. I don't script everything out, but I'm talking to you now. I have bullet points of what I want to talk about and the key little points that I want to make for all these subjects that we're talking about. So I don't need to script everything out, but I can write tools, and I know what tools I want to talk about. I can write gimbal, lav mic, green screen, phone, and drone. And I know what I want to say about those things. I don't need to script out every little word. You might need to script out every word at the beginning, but bullet points are your friend. But more than anything else, you just have to be comfortable about the subject matter. Again, if we're having a casual conversation off camera and ask you to tell me about your family, you're gonna be very comfortable telling me about your family because you know them intimately. So the antidote to uncomfortability or stumbling over your words is just knowledge, is just really knowing what you're talking about. And that almost always requires some research. So this whole process of making content, one of the big chunks of it is researching and scripting out your subject and what you want to say about it so you come across as a professional. All right, let's talk about the biggest mistakes I see realtors make with social media content. And listen, not to judge, but of all the platforms, all the ways you can generate business in real estate, I think social media is the least understood, which is actually a great thing because to me that spells opportunity for you to rise to the top because a lot of realtors are not doing well with the content that they're making. And even the ones who are making good content maybe aren't doing it consistently. So if you can crack the code in just making high quality content and posting consistently, I promise you will have a foundation for a thriving real estate business. But in terms of the biggest mistakes I see realtors make, number one would just be not understanding the opportunity, right? People are looking at social media through the lens of their personal life and how it's not beneficial, how it's unhealthy and toxic and distracts you. That may be true, But we're not talking about social media for personal life. You are a business person, you're a salesperson, you need to put yourself out there. It's 2025 and social media is as legit of a business tool as anything else that you can think of, whether it's a billboard or a commercial or some type of ad, a Facebook ad or whatever. Social media for business people, it cannot be ignored. It's a legit thing. And you need to understand it because of that. Now, not understanding is one of the biggest mistakes that I see realtors make. I'll talk about TikTok and they're like, oh, I don't want to do silly dances. No one's telling you to do silly dances. If you've opened up TikTok anytime in the last couple years, almost no one is dancing on TikTok, okay? But there are a lot of small business owners, talking about whatever they're selling or whatever they're interested in a million different ways. So the big mistake is just ignorance, not knowing what a big opportunity social media is. I mean, you don't really need to pay to create your channels, and you might need a little bit of equipment, but really this is free to do. So this is a free way to advertise for yourself. This is a massive opportunity to own your audience. And more than anything else, it's leveraged, okay? And I really hope you take that away. If you're getting excited about social media or if you're on the fence about whether you should hop in, think about this. Social media content, especially long-form YouTube content, generates leads when you're sleeping. You can cold call FSBOs and expirers and become a millionaire doing it, but you ain't making money unless you're dialing, okay? Or you're hiring someone to dial. You can make money off open houses, but not unless you're in the open house. You can generate referrals from your sphere of influence, but you're not generating referrals unless you're picking up your phone and calling those people and adding value to their life. I can post a YouTube video. In fact, I still get leads from YouTube videos I posted years ago, right? Because it's searchable, because people are searching these terms and finding my content again and again every day. So I can't think of a bigger reason to go all in with social media. It is leveraged. You are going to get such a better return on a long form YouTube video than you would from any other lead generation technique that I mentioned, or really any other short form video. And this is why I think YouTube is so important, because people are going to find your content in a leveraged way over time, more so than any of the other platforms, right? You can't really find me an old Instagram story or even Instagram post. It's just not manageable to go back and find those things. But YouTube in particular is optimized for SEO and searchability and findability. So understanding what an incredible opportunity social media is and becoming a student of the game. Whatever platform that you're gonna post on, you need to do research, even more so than just watching the videos that I make. You got to be a student of the game. That's part of the price of admission. You're learning how to tell a story on these platforms, and you've got to learn the language, and you've got to practice it. So if you recognize it for the opportunity it is, you'll know it's well worth your time. The next major mistake I see realtors make is the type of content they're making. We already discussed this, so I won't go over it again in too much detail. However, most realtors are making content for real estate agents about, oh my God, I had such an awful client, or I had a crazy client, or I had the best client, or this happened at closing, or this deal always. It's real estate agent content. And even if people seem like they care, they don't really care. You want neighborhood content and home content and personal connection content. The third major mistake I see realtors make with social media is they just don't do it long enough to see results. They do it sporadically, posting at random times, and they definitely don't do it consistently over months and months and months. Listen, the recipe is simple. I could bet money or guarantee your success based on posting one high quality YouTube video a week for 8 months. Can you do it? Can you run the marathon? I rather you do that than post on, all 4 platforms and LinkedIn or whatever else at random days for 2 months and then never do it again, or then, have a 3-month gap. You've got to be consistent. You got to have high quality content. So there you have it, how to get started selling more homes with social media. Now, of course, there's a lot more to talk about. I've made other videos that go more in depth about the platforms like YouTube. So if you're interested, if you're getting the ball rolling with this, I highly recommend you go back and watch my other social media related content. But this was just an outline for you to, address some of the most common mistakes that I see and to cover some of the most common questions that I get asked about this whole process. It's important that you know the differences in the platforms and how to tell a story for each platform. You don't need a lot of crazy tools to get started. You just need your iPhone, a gimbal, and a lav mic. Stop making content about being a real estate agent and start making content about neighborhoods and homes and your personal life. Post consistently for a long period of time without expecting to see results for at least 8 months. Improve your speech in front of the camera by talking to yourself in front of the camera, recording it, and more than anything, talk about what you know, research your topics beforehand, and write out bullet points so that you're confident about what you're saying. And avoid the biggest mistakes that I see. Get over the whole social media is evil thing. This is one of the best opportunities for your small business. Become a student of the game. It will be well worth your time, and run the marathon. Do something consistently for 8 months at a high level, and you will outlast the competition, and you will be successful as a realtor, I promise. As always, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what content you want to see in the future, and I'll see you next time.